Allow me to introduce myself. My name is Sir Richard Atkins, the Royalist cavalryman and the hero of the Battle of Roundway Down. Nothing? You've heard of me, haven't you? Too late for that. But no, it's fine. It's a little disappointing, I'll admit, but I suppose it does give me an opportunity to tell you all about the battle itself and make you remember who I am. So imagine this. There we were, our foot in the centre. We are flanked by two wing of horse. We have our cannon set in front of the foot. Now I was part of the left wing of cavalry, and we're bearing down towards our enemy's right. Now as we got closer towards the enemy cavalry, I happened to notice that those parliamentarians, well, they're around 8 deep, tightly packed and in good order, and most importantly, completely clad in cuirassiers armour. This was heavy, thick steel. Quite frankly, it made me think that they were all just cowards hiding behind that stuff. Now, they were so tightly packed together, I dare say, their Punchinello being there that day, not even there with their great clubs would have been able to beat their way through the ranks, and we were presenting ourselves to them, but only 3 deep, and in rather poor order. Now, I blame it on the fact that our orders came through, and we had to charge rather suddenly. So suddenly, in fact, that I barely had time to put on my arms correctly. But despite all this going against us, we commenced with a charge so fast, so devastating, that the history books will forever remember us. For we arrived upon our enemy before they even got off a single shot of their cannon. Now as I bear closer towards the enemy cavalry, I happen to find myself charging headlong towards the enemy general, or whom I supposed to be due to where the man was located. And as I came towards him, the general, and I believe this, draws his pistol, fires at me. Draws his carbine, fires at me a second time. Now, of course, the fool had shot too early, did not hit me, but I still felt the need to, how to put it, return the favour, shall we say. So I draw my pistol, I fire it clean towards the general, and I could have sworn I struck him. The man reared up on his horse and starts cantering on down the hillside away from his men. Now, at this point, I hear this awfully common voice echo out from the enemy side, simply shouting, "'Tis our Heselrig! Quick, follow him!" And follow him I did. Charging on down that hillside, I arrived behind him for a second time. This time I did not want to take any chances. So I draw my second pistol, touch the back of the man's head, and bang! The musket was being bounced off that accursed armour of his. Now, whilst I did not do him any harm, I certainly gave the general a nasty fright. He kicks his horse into a gallop, he charges down the hillside and draws his sword, and he just begins swinging it from left to right. Completely unaware that there was no man around him to strike. Now, I was set upon my horse, watching Sir Arthur Heselrig fighting phantoms. And I suppose I would admit that man in his armour and his swirling blade, perhaps he would have put off a lesser man, but, of course I did not put myself on. No, I was for having it. So I charged towards him and I clashed for the third time, and this time he clashed with sword. Now he has this large, clumsy backsword, good for cutting and hacking, whilst I brought along my nice, sharp, strong tuck. Now I took the sword and I rose to the side and I stamped him from head to saddle and could do the man no harm. He then proceeds, like the cad he was, to simply strike at my horse. Not at me, no, not like a gentleman should. He strikes my horse across the nose with such ferocity that one could take their finger and place it within the wound itself. Now I thought at this point I simply grabbed the sword, so when he strikes me under my armpit, and I could do naught. He hit me so hard I barely held onto my sword. Now, at this point I thought, right, I'll just simply grab his head, throw him to the ground, and kick him to death. But before I could do that, he strikes my horse again, this time cutting the headstall from the bridle, and well, quite frankly, at that point, I'd lost my steering, so I was all but defeated if he started to ride away. But luckily, a young cornet of my regiment arrived on the scene, saw my distress, draw his pistol, shoots at the general, which was much like a flea bite to that man in his accursed armour, but it distracted him long enough for me to take my sword and thrust it into his, Now, you must remember, he did it first. But I took my sword and I stabbed the side of his horse. Now, the poor creature did falter, causing the general to alert the horn upon his saddle, exposing his nape on the back of his neck. Spying the only weakness I could find in that armour, I draw my sword back and I would have killed him there and then, if it wasn't for the fact that my horse also faltered at that moment, causing me to miss. No, all hope seemed lost, but a good friend of mine, Captain Holmes, again, I'm sure you've heard of him, he came charging in at that very last minute, draws his sword, and he just starts hacking and slashing away at the general. And well, the general, he quite frankly had enough at this point. He simply throws up his arms and he says, "What would you do? Kill an old man?" I said, "Deliver up thy sword, sir," which he was rather loath to do, as the man had strapped his sword to his wrist. So whilst I was sat there upon my horse, waiting for the general to detach himself from his weapon, I hear that awfully common voice echo out from the enemy side once more, shouting, "There's our Bestwick! It's been captured! Charge!" Well, the next thing I know, I'm embroiled in a desperate skirmish, shot to the shoulder, which I was furious about, as it ruined my brand new coat. And quite frankly, they managed to arrest their dear general from our captivity, and were forced to go back to our friends, embarrassed and defeated. Still, the story does not end there. Of course it doesn't. If it did, I wouldn't be telling it to you today. No, for you see, we regathered our strength, we regathered our forces, we marched towards our enemy for a second time, and as we bear down towards them, you never guess what they did. They threw down their arms. They surrendered to us. I was bitterly disappointed. I was hoping for a good old scrap, but, well, despite all that, I rode in front of my men, rode in front of my enemies, now begging for mercy on their knees, and I simply look up to the heavens and exclaim with all my heart and all my love, "God save England, and God save the King!" What are you, parliamentarians? Nothing? Nothing? No, I thought I could smell it on you. Yeah, disgusting. Now, you might not be impressed with my story. Of course, that's fair, that's fine, I don't mind. But you see, when I told the king this, he was very impressed. He had this to say on the matter. He said, "If Sir Arthur Hessery was both victualled and fortified, I dare say he would have withstood a siege of 7 years." In other words, if Sir Arthur Hessery could both food and water in that accursed armour of his, there didn't seem to be a man on earth that could have got him out of it in a good 7 years. Thank you very much, everyone. I hope you enjoyed the show. If you have any questions about the Civil War, please do ask me, or you can go see our fantastic collection over to my left. If you want to hold weapons, you can. There's a couple of rules, though. If you are going to hold on to something with a gun, keep your finger off that trigger. Please don't point to the people. It's rude. Rude to point with a gun, so don't point to the individuals. And if you want to hold the sword, you're more than welcome to. All I ask is that you hold it upright, don't swing it around, don't show that your nose or anyone else's. And if you want to wear the hat, you can. There you are. But with that said, thanks so much. Enjoy the rest of your day. Cheers.